Good evening, everyone watching from their desktop, mobile devices, TVs, and if we're really trying to be fancy, your notepads, iPhones, and iPads. Namukelekele lana kwa BrownSense TV. For those of you who don't know me, I go by the name Charles, Charlie the Greatest Ngubeni, or simply known as Charles from BrownSense. Tonight, I do not show face alone. Joining me virtually is a whole powerhouse. Put her in any space and she makes your house glow. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow us to welcome my co host, Pindi Lesitole. Pindi Lesitole. All right, whilst we're waiting for Pindele Sitole, tonight the reason why we gathered together is because we're going to be watching a short film made by Orange Moon Productions. The people behind it are going to be joining our panel along with our special guest, which I'm going to mention right now shortly, and as well as someone from an NGO organization. I will be mentioning these people shortly, but in the meantime, please do pardon us. We are facing a bit of technical difficulties. We will be with you shortly. And we're back on. Just still waiting for Opindi to join us shortly. How's everyone doing? Can we rewind? Load shedding has us fired up. Guys, you said it yourselves. You said it for yourselves, eh? We're gonna be with you in a bit shortly. Sia Nondumo says, I'm here, the movie can start now. Definitely right on, spot on. I'm just waiting for everyone to just jump on and then we're definitely gonna get the show on the road. All right, seems like we have Upindi. So, for those of you that just joined me now, welcome to it, guys. Welcome to everyone that's watching from their desktop, mobile devices, TVs, and if we're really trying to be fancy, once again, welcome to um, welcome and join us from your notepads, iPhones, and iPads. Namugelegile lana kwa BrownSense TV. For those of you that don't know me, I go by the name Charles, also known as Charles from BrownSense. All right, tonight I do not show face alone. Joining me virtually is none other than this powerhouse. Put her in any space and she will make your house glow. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming my co host, Pindi Sitole. Hi, Pindi. Pindi, hello. All right, seems like we're losing Upindi. All right, the next person that I'm just going to add on here whilst we're waiting for Upindi to join us due to technical difficulties, I'm just going to add on the main person that is behind the show itself. There we go. We have Upindi joining us. Pindi, are you ready?
Evan kicking. Thank you for resuscitating me. Sanibonani Makaya.
Yeah, bro, finally, she's alive, guys, she's alive.
That's if ESCOM will keep me alive. Let's hope. Godspeed.
Hi, Pindi. I just want to start. Let's start from the top. How are you today?
I am refreshed. I am refreshed. A bit shaky though, but have every right. Yeah. And I just want to put it out there that apologies. I know I had network issues. I have just tuned in on my phone. So if I do cut off, I'm definitely going to try my best to log back in. If you can please just bear with me.
All right. No worries. No worries. Uh, Now, most people would wonder why I call you a powerhouse and just how it is that you make people's house glow. Please tell us a little bit more about Upindi and what is it that you do?
Okay, well, first and foremost, Upindile is a mother to just one and only one. I'm hoping she's my last.
Ah,
Do not.
ah, ah. What about usisi wakho omncane?
Hayi hayi umele ubhoweza usisi omncane ungawari umele ubhoweza phume lapho.
All right, guys, without further ado, let's shoot straight into it. The reason we gathered here today, thank you so much for joining in and thank you so much for your patience. We are going to be live screening a short film. This lovely lady that goes by the name Kim Msibi. The name of the show itself is The Aftertaste. Um, Now, before we get into it, I just want to see who do we have on our panel. Pindi Sitole, would you mind sharing there with us, or should I go ahead and hold the ropes?
Please proceed with that.
All right, guys. On our panel, we are going to have, of course, the producer and scriptwriter, oh, sorry, the producer and director, Kimi Msibi. And then we're going to have the poets slash actors, which is going to be Mutle Mothibe, and as well as Sibulelo Manamatela. All right, welcoming Kimi Msibi. Hi, Kimi Msibi, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Yes,
you.
we can.
Welcome aboard.
Oh, thank you so much. Again, also from my side, technical difficulties have really gotten us today with load shedding and all that stuff, but hopefully this is going to be stable now.
Yeah, I pray so too. Hey, lento le load shedding, guys. Axis, neza. Adding on to that, I am gonna add on Usbulelo. Just Sbulelo, are you ready there? Hi, how are you? Sbulelo, we can't hear you. You're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. And how are you?
I'm fantastic, but you definitely need to check on me later. I might just not be. Right, guys, we're about to get deep into it. Like I said, we are live streaming The Aftertaste, which is a short film, an award winning short film by Kimi Msibi. The person that she has on her cast is Usbulelo. I'm just waiting for. There we go. We have Mutle just joining us as well. Welcome, Mutle Mothibe. How are you, sir?
I'm very, very good. Hello, guys.
Hi.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
All right, fantastic, brother. So Usbulelo and Omoke are literally the shining stars. Well, mainly the main actor and actress in the short film that we are about to view. Really, really incredible work. Something that you really need to look forward to watching. But right now, Obamanje, I would like to go over to Kimi and ask you and unpack everything for now. Just give us a slight, before we go into the trailer itself, just give us a slight overview of Uguti, what we are yet to expect on our screens.
Okay. Well, besides, you're going to experience the beautiful performance by Mutle and Sibs, and I think they were mind blowing. But
Yep.
the subject matter itself is actually quite serious. It's a film on gender based violence. It was inspired by So when I was studying, this was meant to be my master's project, and I wanted to do something else. However, every week when I would go into Twitter or the news and look up my country, because when you're away, you always want to look at what's happening in your space. And all I could see, like week in and week out, was another woman has died from the hands of her lover or her ex or something. But every week it just felt like this never ending thing. So I thought, let me use the medium that I love the most in saying something, because I felt like I wanted to interrogate this and say something using film. So I did that. And the result was that we won an award for it. So yeah.
Washa, ain't nothing better than getting a score from your hard work and hard labor. I just want to check on Upindile if she's back with us. Pindile, are you still there?
Yes, I am live and kicking.
All right, cool. So we're gonna shoot straight over to you, Ne, just to usher us into the next lineup. So I'm seeing here we're shooting straight to the first trailer, right?
Yes, let's get into it. Let's get into it.
Let's
Let's
please.
get into it. All right.
I'm like the Adam and you're my Eve. I am biting apples and you're of my eye. I am winning saddles, you're of my hours, and together we're like time flies.
I've been brought upright, and that's my demon. Church sermons and summons, my demons. Bending over for you, then bending over backwards, then bending over for the Lord, my demon.
Me, demon. Me that seconds every minute of our weeks. When did I become the enemy?
Your face, my demon. The aftertaste, my demon. Presenting both cheeks, being told when to speak, knowing my place, these are my demons.
Yay.
Oh, oh. Now diving back into it, I actually, from it back end, right? And our discussion before we came on live, Kimi, you told me more about Ritty. We had someone that wrote everything behind the scenes, and of course, now our shining star, Sibulelo, came in and said, "No, man, ayenzi zona lento le idinga iflavor yam for me to add on and make sure ukuthi it makes much more sense." Sibulelo, I really want to find out from you. So, as you joined Ilona, as you were shortlisted and you were picked for the part, walking in and finding the script as it is, um, how did you connect with the actual character herself, and how did you get to a point of seeing that no man, I conte offla?
So I think when you read anything, you can immediately feel what it's saying to you, and if it's speaking to you or not. Excuse me. um, so when I first read it, I thought it was beautifully written, like very gorgeous work, but it didn't feel feminine, and it didn't feel like a woman telling that story. It didn't feel like a woman's voice. So I think that was my only objection. It wasn't like based on technicalities or anything. It was just altering the voice to make it more woman, and I guess more me, because I was going to be saying the words, so it was important that I feel and believe what I am saying.
Definitely, definitely. And also we have Omutle right there. Hi, sir. You're back on. I understand
Hello.
now your character that you played is a little bit far away from yourself as you are for a person. Just take us through it, your journey, just getting into that character and diving into Mandla, the character.
I think it was a difficult character to play because also, I think I hadn't done a short film. This was the first time of us actually getting on, in front of a camera and doing a short film. But I had a history of theater. I have a history of performance arts. So it was also kind of applying the knowledge that I have from having been a poet and having performed on stages, and then playing on the technical knowledge I have of accessing emotions when I need to access emotions, and then just applying that in this space. And also, the great part about it is at every turn, Kimi and Z, they were constantly here aiding us in certain parts. In the parts that they felt that we had it, they just told us, listen, just go ahead and do exactly what you feel is right for you. And that's what you need to actually just go with. And then the end product is what we have now. And I think that's the amazing part, is that we went in here also eager to learn, but also eager to get the job done as perfectly as possible.
I mean, you said something really beautiful there. You said you were allowed room to play. And there's nothing that is really further from the truth than actually what Sibulelo said earlier on, Uguti. She had to make sure, Uguti, whatever that she says, she believes. That's why she had to alter her script herself and make sure that it's more relating to uh, a female than the person that wrote the script themselves. Kimi, just taking us through everything. I want to know why the choice of using poetry and instead of any dialogue, using a dramatic dialogue for the short film.
Okay, so I'm gonna take you back a bit. So when the time I decided to actually do this, I had prepared to shoot something else, but like I said, I was disturbed by the femicide basically.
Yes.
And so yeah, so I had a time frame, and I thought, how am I going to say this without going to the details of scripting? Because scripting itself is very involved and it will require a lot of time and enough drafts and all that stuff. So I just thought, how about I actually shoot a film which has images, and if I use poetry, it gives us enough scope to interrogate a lot of things in a short space of time, as opposed to if we're just done the normal sort of dialogue-y film. So I then contacted my co-creator, my friend Uzi Kube, because he's a poet, and I asked him if I told him what I wanted to see, what the images I wanted, what I wanted to impart, what I wanted to discuss, and what I wanted to speak to and interrogate. And he actually then said, I got you. And he went and he wrote this poem. So after writing the poem, we then had to decide as to who are we going to use to act in the film. What was very important to me, I said, the poem plays such an important part in the film. I feel as though if the people are not the greatest of actors, because they won't be delivering dialogue and that sort of thing in the actual shooting, I feel we can work with anyone who has some sort of performance talent, but even if they're not trained actors, right? What was important to me, though, was to have people who can carry the poem, because that was the overlying voice of the story, And so Uzi then told me about these two wonderful poets that he knew, and that's how we got in touch. And then in the process of making the film, obviously we did some research. We sat with people to discuss amongst ourselves our own personal experiences of gender-based violence, toxicity in relationships, and just a whole range of things. And that helped us narrow down where we really wanted to go. But at this point, I, like Usibs, had felt that as beautiful as the poem was, I also wanted that female response. I wanted the female voice to be attached to it. So we sent it to Sibs, and she read it, and she wasn't feeling it at first. Like, she loved the poem, but like she said, she didn't feel or hear her voice. So for me, it's so important that we come. I mean, I know film can be a fictional thing, whatever, but it's important for us to be as authentic as we possibly can to ourselves and whatever we do, because then we do the best work in that way. So Sibs took the script. She wasn't feeling it at the time. The four of us then sat together, myself, Mutle, Sibs, and Z, and we had a similar discussion where it was the first time I met them, and we had a discussion about gender-based violence, about our own personal lives, and whether you saw your neighbor getting abused, or and our perceptions of just gender roles. And from that discussion, I think Usibs also then felt a whole lot more comfortable and free to know. And I think we did give her that, we did let her know, Uti, I want you to have your voice. So go home, play with it, make it what you think would work. And the very next morning, girl delivered, ne? And we were kind of like, okay, this works, So yeah, so that's why I chose to go with poetry. I thought it would do what I wouldn't be able to do in just 5 minutes of just plain dialogue and action. Yeah.
And understanding the artist, Soguti, like Umuke had said earlier on, Soguti, this is basically the first time that they actually doing something like this as a short film. And I must say, look, kudos, well done. You guys literally did the work. You guys literally did the work. I myself am a dropout of the arts. So I just saw, I got there, I was like, I know, I can't do this.
Charlie
Because,
Charles, how are you a dropout in arts when you're on this platform? You're an artist. Come on. And I think just to touch on the making, Kimmy, it was interesting for me to see how you traveled in time with that belly with Sips. Given the duration. Come on, let's can I understand that?
So just for everyone to know, the belly in the stomach is actually Pindy's. She was pregnant with the baby that she was talking about earlier. So
sorry, just had to put it out there. I'm catching up to the intro that I missed out on.
the
she had
big
to,
reveal.
she don't her stomach performed. Okay, let's recognize that. Okay. Yeah, man. So,
Award
Pindy,
winning.
what was your question besides your stomach, baby?
No, it was really just understanding how you traveled in time. But hey, you gave it up now. Thank you so much.
All right.
But you guys are making me itch, and the more we talking around the creative journey, I'm thinking, when are we gonna fly it off? When are we gonna fly it off with the actual film?
Yeah, that's where I want to get to. All right. But before we get into that, I really want to know just a rough background of maybe a short biography from Sibulelo on the work that you've done so far, and what is it that you do. And the same goes for you, Mutle. For people that don't know who Sibulelo Manamatela is, just basically shed some light.
Manamatela is a poet first, because I think that's the one thing I've been doing for longer than anything else. So the first thing I did, the first big thing that was really exciting, was my own one woman play in poetry. And that was in 2015. And after that, I had not really been in the poetry space in Johannesburg. I was more based in Cape Town. When I moved to Joburg, I started like slamming, performing, and doing all of that jazz. So yeah, and then I became a student because, I believe that talent is great, but talent backed by studying is greater. So I studied creative arts, focalizing in literature and poetry, actually. So that is my major. I'm not done, by the way, because I had kids after that. Now, when I have these kids, life redirects, okay? And so I have been since working, performing whenever it feels good, it feels possible. But right now, I'm working as a content creator and writer online. So this is where I live. These are my things.
All right, fantastic. So you're very much familiar with the snap, snap, snap.
I've been getting the snaps.
Taking it over straight to you, Mutle. Please tell us about Mutle Mothibe and what he does.
Mutle Mothibe is like, honestly, I started out as a poet. I've always been a poet. That's always been like the main thing. Like the first poem I ever wrote was in when I was in grade 5 or 6, and ever since then, that has been my medium of expression, of healing. And then I've dabbled in other artworks, especially when, as I was saying, I've done acting, but it was more theater work, and then. Yeah, everything from yoga instructor to now also my journey as Isangoma. So everything I think ties in together to me being an artist and constantly exploring and trying to figure out the best way I could express myself and the clearest way I could express myself. So if that's drawing me at that moment, whether it be photography, whether it be art, whether it be singing, it's if it moves me, that's what I want to get into. So yeah, that's basically Mutle. But above and everything else, as Sibulelo was saying, before everything, I'm a father. That's what dictates how I move and when not to move. I'm always aware that I'm a father of 3, and that's the most important thing to me.
All right, guys, as you've heard it, we are jam packed with artists, creatives, poets, parents. Before anything, guys, abantu that create humans right before they create. I just had to say that. Okay, looking at our comments quickly, I just want to quickly acknowledge all our audiences, uh, all of the people in the audience. When Alexandra said, can we rewind earlier? I'm pretty sure you've caught up by now. Love that, love that. Tabile Serote, thank you for joining us. Sia Nondumo, I'm here. The movie can start right now. We on it, we on it. Karabo Lehuabe says hello. So let's say a quick hello to Okarabo. Hello.
I want to holler out to the first 3 people you mentioned. They're good friends of mine, and I love them for being here.
Guys, thank you so much for actually supporting. Literally, all it goes is from this circle and straight through to everyone else. We have another comment from Unkosinati Makanda. Yebo, waiting with my big fat J. Trailer looks interesting. That's joint, guys. I think that's joint. Kosinati, yeah. And then we have Adetunji Omotola. I hope I pronounced that name right. Tagging all the friends. Look, you're doing the Lord's work. Let's bring them in. Let's bring them in.
Bring them in.
Vuyelwa Qinga saying, congratulations, Kimi, and your Crow creators in telling authentic stories that talk to critic matters.
I love you, Vuyelwa. Thank
critical
you.
issues of our time. Yeah.
That's my sister. That love her. Thank you.
All right. Here we go. Bati Ama Human Creators. That's from Umzuzugile Sweni. We know that one. We know that one. That one. We are here, bro. Langa Elisha Zulu. Thank you, Baba. Thank you for coming through. And then we have Ala from Ulo in response to Ulanga Elisha Zulu. Right. Without further ado, guys, without wasting anyone's time, we're gonna allow Upindi to take us through what she has been anticipating, what everyone else in the audience has been anticipating. I mean, including Kosi and Nondumo. The movie can start now. We just want to unpack the actual movie itself. How co-host, yeah, gone like the wind. But anyways, what I want to
Load shedding, Yamshaya.
Load shedding. Hi guys, we need to really do something about this. Or are we going overseas, Kamuk?
We're staying.
All right. So without further ado, I just want to unpack the entire short film, starting from beginning right up till the end. Joining me to assist us in actually just profiling our screenshots will be my lady at the back, powerhouse Yam, Ushiris. Shiris, whenever you're ready, just fly through one of the pictures. So we're gonna start right at the beginning. In the beginning, we see um, a courtship that is happening at this point in time, where Umutle, acting as Umandla, is basically noticing Usibulelo acting as Utembi. Utembi is coming back from the shops. Utembi is coming back from the shops, and she's entering her gate. Nah, Utembi, man, she's smitten at this point. Yakwanda, she's just like, I know, I catch. We are about a bearded brother over there. Just to carry us through at this point in time, I want to understand from you, Kimi, particularly. Um, is this a linear form where it starts from good to bad? Or do they start on a bad note? For the people that actually didn't see the trailer and people that just joined now.
You know what, hey? I think in storytelling and in all things in life, actually, the story of love. You meet someone, you think, Jonah, this is wow. Beginning, always good, always beautiful. Then there's that, yes, you raised your hand. Or are
I
you just
wanna
agreeing?
know. I wanna know, ne, and this is asking from a person that doesn't speak the language. Intoni umnqwasa? What is umnqwasa?
Oh dear God. Never mind. You meet a person and you like them. The way Umutle was looking at Sibs and the way Sibs was looking at, or Mandla was looking at Tembi and the way Tembi was looking at Mandla. That first time, that's, oh wow, I'm just taken, when you watch the movie, you'll see this, the way he even forgets the friend he's walking with, and we are Jiga. And my DOP at that point thought, why thinking, I'm going to shoot this slow moment because there's a moment here that we don't want to miss a single moment of it, right? So I think when I was telling the story, I wanted to get beginning, middle, and ending because our lives, and particularly this one, actually really has an ending. But our lives are that there's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an ending. So I wanted to reflect it in the life of these people, in the life of coupling, and yeah. So that's why I chose to do that. But some of the clues, for instance, in the filmmaking thing that I made is when Utembi is walking into the house, the gate closes on her. That was almost a symbol from our point of view. To the moment you met this man, the gate would have closing on you. So as cute as that is, we started cueing in small things that are speaking to the film. So we had to make decisions like that as well. So it's a good part. It's a nice part. They're meeting, but there's already an indication. There's already some sort of something that we are taking the viewer with us. It's a small one, but it still is there. The gate is closing. If you also notice with the color, it's happy, it's sunny, Bunandi. There are roses there behind Mutle. I don't think you guys see them. Where we were crouching there and taking this shot, we're standing behind someone's roses, guys. So so it was, everything was representing this beautiful rosy period in Tendi and Mandla's lives, So yeah, I don't know if that answers you. If that's what you wanted from that.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And I understand now time frames are literally such a lot to work through, as Upindi said earlier on. Touching on that, I mean, we saw with the different outfits, Uguti, Usbulelo, Utembi, being portrayed by Usbulelo, went from a teenage love affair phase to a point where she was a lover, as ngesiZulu konje bathini, yini ifat and set konje. What's the other word for ifat and set?
Ifat and set.
Is it only just
So it's exactly that. Fat and set.
Ukipita. Yes, that's the word that I'm looking for. Ukipita. So there's a point where we see her according to her dress code. Yeah, okay, she looks like Ukipitile, and then it goes from there straight through to ukuthi hayi manje usebikiwe umuntu usezibikile ekhaya, and now she is the wife, and then right to the point where she's an abiding wife. Throwing it back to where we come from, um, we see all of this with Ayman. They're at a happy moment. And what I see here on the table, right? But Sharice, if you could just go back there, ne? There's little pieces that we don't catch, but for those that pay careful attention, they'll see. So we see what I see in this particular snippet is that um, Utembi does both being unkosikazi endlini, and as well as she does her creative work. Because I see on the table there's like papers there. There's a lot happening there. Take us through it. Is this work from Utembi, or is this work from Umandla?
So that would be Tembi's work. So first, I'd like to acknowledge the artist who did that, which is a dear friend of mine. She let us shoot in her house, and she actually put me together with the DOP, and she was our AD. She's an artist, Utoza Mafiglin. That is actually her artwork. But from the story point of view, it's Utembi. What we wanted to do is Utembi is an artist. And the reason I wanted to show that is Uguti Mandla at this point, he is still okay with her journeying into herself and with herself, you know. At this point of the relationship, it's not at a controlled space. So while she's already performing those gender roles of cooking and stuff, it's still the sweet, nice part. It's also possibly still the part that she enjoys because she doesn't see it as duty. She's seeing it as I'm doing something nice for Umdwami, you know, for Umyenwami, like this is my man, and I'm going to be making him food. And these are part of the gender roles that we had actually spoken about. One of the things that you would also see in the clip is that there's a part where I think he goes to the pot and she slaps his hand a little bit. That was also a conscious decision. It came from some of the discussions we had with Mutle no Sibs. Uguti, you know, with these gender roles, sometimes even we females push for them without realizing what the long-term effect would be. So here's a man coming to the kitchen trying to check, and she's basically saying, "No, that's my territory. Don't do it." But it's still sweet, you know. It's still sweet. Yeah. So, and I think that's the whole thing about the aftertaste, right? Is that we use language, we use gestures, we use just ideas, you know, sex and all these things that are of beauty, that are meant to be of beauty, that are meant to be of things that we love, you know, like you want to serve your partner, you know, we use all those things and show them from the good parts to the bad parts, because those same things can be used, language can be used to be toxic, you know, duty can be used to oppress. So we literally then we wanted to show that in the film. Yeah. Sibs?
Yeah. So if I may just jump in there quickly, Kimi. Am I coming through all right?
Yes, you are, dear.
Yes, thank you. So I also just wanted to add on from that artistic point of view, right? That studio shot at the beginning, I'm not sure if we have it on. What exactly were you trying to do there? Is that where you sort of trying to introduce them being artists or not?
You mean them being in the studio?
The grayscale.
Yes, together, and there's like that
moment.
poetry dialogue. Yes.
Okay, so here's the truth of what happened.
There we go.
No. Here's the truth of what happened, and
because
this is
we
what
in
filmmaking
studio
does.
and then we're at home.
Okay. This is what happened, very simply, right? And it's hilarious, but it's also lovely. Initially, we shot the poem around at the table in the kitchen. So they were in their house, and we wanted them to shoot it in the setting that we would have set them up, basically. And them looking at each other and talking to each other like they did in the studio, but across the table of this home, right? That was supposed to be of so much beauty. And then at the end of that, which really was terrible, we wanted both of them, as they were reciting, to look towards the fridge where the ultimate act happens. So we kind of have both these things in the same shot. However, yeah, someone was very tired, and because he hadn't slept for a few days, and anyway, so we in the morning we just rushed to do the lighting and all that stuff, and we wanted that the end scene to be more on the red side. So we had set up for the lighting of the red scene, and then we started shooting. But mid shooting, I realized that, oh my gosh, we are making Mandla's character look evil from the beginning. So we are giving away already what's going to happen. And as a result of that, I then called. I was already back in England actually when I was sitting in edit. I'm like, I tried different ways of making this work, and it's like it's not working. So I then called and I
Yeah.
asked a friend, born African, by the way, who I should thank as well. And I asked my talent and Z if they could just go back and deliver it as a poem. And I think because it was a poem, it did actually then help them to also be seen as poets and not just actors, which is what they
100.
are. So it all worked out really
100.
quite fantastic. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for me, like I said, I looked at it as you really introducing the essence of poetry, but on a deeper level, when I got to the end bit, I was like, but this is actually a misplaced relationship from the beginning. Different
Yep,
approach.
yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm more concerned about the name itself, ne? And speaking to what Kimi said earlier on, how did this name come about, the aftertaste? When I think about the aftertaste, ne, and relating it to what we just saw, it goes from it starts by tasting good. When you eat ukudla, it tastes good. And then after taste, it doesn't taste so good anymore. It's not as rich. The
Yeah,
flavor is not as
yeah.
rich in your tongue. So is that did I get it right? Did I get it right when it comes to that title? Was that what was behind the naming of the film itself?
And
Hey,
also,
guys,
Kimi, why not an abstract title? So in that question, I really want to know if it was deliberate.
okay. We were first Newton's law. For some reason, I forgot what the law was, what the reason was. Do you guys remember that?
Is it not attraction, whatever, equal,
Yeah.
whatever, that thing?
That was the working title, was it? Yeah, that thing. And I really do want to answer this question right now. I, however, think in answering this question, it's going to go into a bit of a dark place. So I would prefer that we go into that particular dark place after we've actually seen the film, because then I think people understand better why the aftertaste. And I'll be able to
Ah,
unpack it more without actually giving away certain things. But also in the poem, Sibs does say the aftertaste, so the word resonated. But yeah, but I'll explain it to you guys afterwards.
All
all
right,
right. So
definitely.
on that note, Charlie Charles in crime, I see that a lot of things are still taboo here. Sibona nini le film kodwa. Hey,
Sizayibona,
I'm sure even our
sizayibona.
listeners can we actually check in on our audience. Simepi. I'm sure they're like, we've been waiting to see this. I'm
All right.
waiting.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Mohao says, been waiting to see this, you actually, right? Someone was told to behave because angazi ukuthi kwenzakalani there by lovely work, brother. Love this. This is from Langelihle Zulu. Thank you so much for tuning in. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Please, at this moment in time, please do look out for the whole entire film. Take notes of what you did to take notes of. Ask any questions. Should you feel free to, you are more than welcome to ask any questions at this point in time. Directed to any of us in the panel. You can even ask me a question, guys. Come on. Ingami la nto le, nami I matter.
Ubani ulangelihle Zulu, behave.
We've been waiting. This is from Tobani Mtambo. All right, without further ado, Cherise, I want you to actually take us through to the next point, which is the actual film itself. Here we go.
Baby, I'm hanging here. Did you change anything with the phone? Is it just network? Hmm.
I don't deserve your magnificence nor its complexities.
Gosh, you'll be the death of me.
God should grant me the power to manipulate figures so you bear witness that I would not alter a feature of your being.
At the altar, it was your ability to manipulate strength, more to protect rather than to break, that aroused a primal urge within. I'm now willingly quarantined.
I promise you this. Surrender to my loving and I'll provide. I'll break my back, I'll batter off my very spine.
Sanction is a steady alpine. I'll measure your rise and leisure will be my decline. I'll submit to your divine command in the sheltered awareness that you are mine.
Sprinkle salt on this love and prolong our forever ploy. Tie back the hands of time. Live in 12 o'clocks or 8:45. Boy, die black, our skins begrimed. Die back in your sublime. Climax, twist, snuggle, entwined. Come, give me a boy.
Boy or girl, I'll give you a bundle of joy.
Give me your boy and I'll give you my soil. I'll cultivate, I'll toil, I'll...
Say no more. I'm yours.
Say it ain't so. I'm like the Adam and you're my Eve. I am biting apples and you're of my eye. I am winning saddles, you're of my hours, and together we're like time flies. I am the head and you're the neck. I am the computer and you're the specs. You are the cuter, but I'm the sex. Follow me, no circumspect. I am the network, you the reception. I am the set work, you the perception. Without you there is no birth, but without me there is no conception.
But I am conception too. You are the fire that barricades me, in which I choose to drown, both my protection and my destruction. I am induction infused. I am prevention, cure, and construction. I am intention purely for production. I am submission and seduction. You have never been my demon to conquer. I wear my demons on my hips. They are commanded by lips. Look at them. Donned in subservient garb, decorated with flowers and hair clips. They are not you. I've been brought upright, and that's my demon. Church sermons and summons, my demons. Bending over for you, then bending over backwards, then bending over for the Lord, my demon. Presenting both cheeks, being told when to speak, knowing my place. These are my demons. Your face, my demon. The aftertaste, my demon. My body and the endless reception of semen, my demon.
Me, demon. Me that seconds every minute of our weeks. When did I become the enemy?
You are never my enemy. You that enters me. You that over and over enters me, that over and over prepares for you the eggs I beat for you, that beats me, that submits and cooks and cleans for you, that cleans up these meals. Me that covers up those welts. And yet, I love you.
I'm drawn to you. You are precious.
You're dangerous.
I can't lose you.
I can't loosen myself from you.
I love you.
I'm bound to you.
I'll protect you.
You can't protect me from you.
I'll never hurt you.
You have hurt me.
I can't desert you.
Believe in you.
I don't want to hurt you.
Eventually you'll hurt her too.
Don't make me hurt you.
I won't fight you.
You are making me do this.
You did this.
This love is forever.
This is not love.
This love is forever.
You promised me better.
I will die before I lose you.
I will die before you loosen me.
You will die before I lose
I will die before I lose myself to you.
Be quiet.
My demons.
Shut up.
My demons.
Shut the fuck up.
You.
Okay. All right. Okay, sharp, sharp. Ngiqale ngoba ngiqale ngawe Sibulelo, ngiqale ngawe Mutle, or do I start with Okimi? I just want to know, guys. I just want to know, man.
Heartbeat racing. I'm hearing heartbeats.
Man. Sibulelo, is this your first time on screen?
It is.
I'm sorry, my God.
Charles Umbulele.
No. Oof. Mutle, also, why when Ezumando Bulelo Munyumtan? Why?
Umbulele, Charles.
Umbulel.
He did bemoan this when we were shooting at some point. It's like, but guys, why are you making me hurt again? Like, what's wrong with Mandla?
No, I just want to say on the artistry, this is brilliant. It's brilliant. Shout
Thank
out
you.
to you, Kimi, for putting such a story together. Special shout out to Mutle and
Kimi, he
Sibulelo
hurt her.
for actually putting it to life. Putting it to life. I mean, it's one thing, and I'll say this as a dropout here, arts. Um, you get a script. Sometimes you just get a skeleton, and it's just words. You don't get a detail of Uguti, how you're supposed to portray this character. And as you guys said earlier on, you have to put the meat by actually diving back into research or towards seeing Uguti how best to portray this character. And also, this speaks to what I will applaud you, Kimi, on. Obviously, you actually allowed them that room for them to make it their own, to take it and make it their own. This is really amazing work.
It's intense.
Yeah, it's intense.
Do you
I'm
know
still,
what though?
yeah.
I think when you're directing people, people I think have this misconception that the director will sit there and say, move your hand right, move your hand left, or whatever. I think ultimately for me, how I approach directing is, do my actors understand and know their characters? Do they know where they are at that moment in the journey of the people that they're portraying, right? And what of the actor of themselves do they want to bring? Do they want to bring? Like what is easier for them? So if a person is left-handed, I would rather shift my camera to get that going, as opposed to make the person use their right hand if they're not comfortable with that, you know. But also it's recognizing that actors are artists. They are not just people to sit there and be told Chica left or right. They're also artists. They're performance artists. They take these stories, they make them their own. They come there and they bring something to the table. So it's a lot of work for them, and it's very emotionally taxing for them as well. I mean, the things that Mutle no Sibulelo had to go through in the 2 days, because we shot this in 2 days, they really, besides being tired and the waiting, and I don't remember if it was supposed to be, it was cold and then it was hot, and then Sibulelo was getting sprayed with water, and then there was a whole lot of things. And for people that have never done this before, I needed them to trust that I trust their vision, and I trust who they are as people, and that I trust that they understand. And they also gave me that same trust, that they trust that we trusted each other in the process and the journey. I think that allowed me to say, I'm letting this go, and for them to say they're letting this go. So it was really quite, to be honest, they were really quite easy to work with. I say this to them all the time. The next thing I'm making, I'm getting Umutle no Sibs. I'll find characters for them. I'll find them somewhere, because for me, the journey, they made it so beautiful and they made it so easy. And Askisini for all the things I did to you. Sorry.
What did you do, Kimi?
What did you do exactly? I want to hear
Sibulelo,
from Mutle.
Sibulelo can
Let's
tell you what
unpack
I
that
did to
by
her.
Yenzin.
Sibulelo
Mutle,
uzokutshela
No,
I
ukuthi
wanna hear.
it was a lot. I think a lot happened. Okay. And you know, when something like, because it was only 2 days, I even forgot some details because I was so overwhelmed the whole time.
My
Like I
God.
was literally like I was overwhelmed. Like the whole 2 days, the second day I was tired and overwhelmed. So I don't even know what happened on that day.
All right. I want to come back to you, Sibulelo, ne, and take us over straight through to Umutle. I want to find out, Mutle, ne, when it came to this character himself, ne, um, now you said, Uguti, you haven't been doing, you hadn't done acting or a short film in terms of screen acting, but you've been doing more of stage work and stuff. What was your journey and experience, and what did it take for you to get to being Umandla? I wanna unpack that. Ukuthi what did it take for you to get to being Umandla, to move away from Umutle and being Umandla? Sibulelo, that same question is coming straight to you, ne? I know your response is gonna be there, so I really look forward to it. Mutle, over to you.
I think it took a lot because this was a total opposite of how I am as a person, as my character. But also, I think I was drawing from that, like, do what is unnatural for you. So, because you know this is how you are, do everything that would not be what people would associate with you. The other part as well was drawing emotions from situations that are in my past, even though they're not related to this space. I could then tap into that emotion and then apply it here. So in the instances where I needed to be angry, then I could go into my past and go into certain parts of me that I felt were very difficult to deal with, and then I could bring that here as the emotion. So the script and what is called for in the moment, then I just glaze it over with the emotion, and then that's how then the authenticity would come through. As if I was angry, I was actually angry. It wasn't that I was in character. Is that I'm not good. I'm not a good actor. I haven't been taught how to act. So I was just using the raw resources that I have in me and then putting it together and then presenting what the moment required of me. And that's how I just jumped in. Yeah, I think that's how I was usually just approaching this whole thing.
I
So you
think I,
let,
I
yeah?
feel like very similarly in that like that's not you. Like Timmy is not Sulelo. Timmy and Sulelo are very different, you know. Um, for instance, Sulelo can't submit. Like she just can't. And I think that was one of the hardest things to shoot for me because I'm like, I'm literally the most stubborn. I fight, guys, but not physically, but like I'm just like I'm mentally fighting, you know, all the time, you know. So it required me to firstly go within to maybe search for the vulnerability that I often do not show, you know. And I think honestly speaking, in the long term, I think that was one of the first points, besides when I'm on stage performing poems or whatever, I access vulnerability there. But it's been carried with me to be able to access that now. And I've become better at it, to be honest. Um, I'm still not submissive though. So it felt like I didn't know Tembi. Like even after editing the script, after reading it hundreds of times, I still felt like I didn't know her because I haven't played her, you know, and I haven't played into her feelings. So the process of shooting was a lot of getting to know her while on the job, to be honest, you know. I was trying to find her, trying to find how she expresses herself. But what I did know, even though I didn't know her, was what I wanted. I knew what I wanted from her, you know. And one of the main things was I wanted her to carry the voice of women, you know, and to be a vehicle to tell that story about, you know, the women in these situations. And I think it becomes hard to be that vehicle if you really haven't been like, when he was attacking her physically, that's not something that I know, you know. But I knew that in order for me to carry the story for the women who have been in that experience, I have to come out of myself and find her. So the whole process of shooting was
Sorry,
just
you can't
finding
switch up,
her.
Papa. Okay.
Also the
Don't
other thing
worry,
I
my
wanted to
sweet. It's
add
gonna be
was,
okay. All right.
Cindy, you're mute. The
I'm
other
here.
thing that I also the other thing that I also wanted to add, it was inspired by conversations I would have with obviously when I think we'd been invited by Kimi for lunch, and when I walked away from that space and the conversations I used to have with Z, is that I needed to embody this thing in the most extreme way, so that if someone were to see this character, they would understand the magnitude of how impactful and how
Mm,
detrimental and how we actually need to address this. So if you were
yeah.
looking at this character, you need to understand how grave the issue of gender-based violence is. That someone on the receiving
Mm,
end of that, if you're seeing this film, you need to feel, man, like someone is on the
Yeah.
receiving end of that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
that's one of
and
the things I also was trying to tap into with myself, like go as far as possible to be as ugly as what this moment or what these situations actually are when people embody these things,
Mm,
and then
mm.
that we can bring the sort of awareness we're trying to bring with this film.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. And Mutle, I think I appreciate what you're saying because towards Sibulelo's point where she spoke around character changes and stuff and vulnerability, there's this one scene where you're manhandling her. I think I actually want to tap into that narrative, that death scene, and I could literally see her eyes piercing of fear, and Sibs, to you, like kudos on that acting because I could literally feel that you're on some it's either the end of me here or what is going on. Kuyabonakala ukuthi you completely in that moment, and I think for Kimmy, if we're flighting straight to the end where it is unfortunately the end of Sip's life, I'd just like to understand your approach to why you specifically chose that death scene, in the sense of how you chose for her to die.
Um, okay, so I don't know how many death scenes would have been an option for me to choose from because I've never been a party to any of them. No, so it had to be intimate because this is a story about two people in an intimate manner. So it had to happen with his hands. I also wanted it to happen in the kitchen, the space where we had seen them previously make food, have lunch, like a place that we were exposed to as their place of joy, you know. And I feel like we shouldn't, if we had used a gun or used something else, we would be taking away how intimate and personal and how close it is. Like for someone to actually stand there and kill another human being, like we know that there's a problem with this person, which is what the things that we're trying to do. Like, like what is this thing of killing women? And I couldn't separate the murderer from the murder. So he had to be the murderer and we had to see him do it. Whereas a gun or a knife or any other means would have separated him from his crime in a sense. Yes, he's committing it, but I
Mm,
really wanted him to own it. I wanted it to be his, I wanted Mandla to, like, as in the poem, she says, you did this, so like she's
Yeah,
telling him, "Woyenzayo, if you don't loosen things off, you are still choosing to do it. And all he's concerned
100%.
about is ungangilahli. And if
Yeah,
uzongilahla, this
100%.
is the road you're gonna go. So it had to be an intimate death moment, if there's such a
Yeah.
thing as intimate death.
And I think what also struck out for me was your choice of lighting and grading for the different scenes in the film itself. Do you want to just run us through your choice of grading there?
Yeah, I'm going to run you through that quite quickly though, because guys, I've
Yeah.
got load shedding at 9, hey, and we started a bit late. Anyway, so the whole thing that happened was it's in film film telling. You can use color and all that stuff. And I wanted to, because again, it was a short film, and we needed to use whatever devices we could to tell the story that we wanted to tell in a short space of time. So I thought if we have the beginning, which has more orangey color, very warm, to show the state of their relationship. In the middle, if you see there where they're having this forced sex and it's blue and it's cold, and you can see in Tembi's face when she turns her face, and you know now that things are not as nice as they were. The sex is not even that engaging, for Tembi, it's a duty already, Yeah, that's a duty
Yeah.
for her. She's just taking it. And I thought the blue worked as cold. And then red, obviously, for the death, the murder, the last scene. So the choice of color was a very intentional thing. It had to do with what devices can I use to tell the story the best format. And that
Okay.
last scene, the one that's on screen now, I think that scene is possibly the most chilling for me, to be honest. Where,
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
yeah,
think just complementary to that, I see with our audience, we've got US Mhlabasi Msibi Gordon noted that does not matter how many times I watch this, always goosebumps and a deep sadness. And Tobani's just commenting on the writing, so the script is on point. And Umagalela has joined us. Hello, Mags. And he has posed a question for you, Kimi. I'm not sure if we went through it. Please apologies if we're revisiting this, because I had network challenges on my end. But he just wants to know, how did you get the actors to trust you? I know we did touch on trust, but I'm not sure if we specifically spoke around how you got the actors to trust you. And I think following that, I'd like you to also get into how you managed to direct your DOP through that, and especially with the awkward scenes.
Because I really want to know, just before anyone starts, I really want to know. I mean, you guys said you shot this in 2 days. For very hectic scenes, for anyone to get comfortable around anyone, it takes a lot. It takes a lot for me to get comfortable with anyone. So how is it that and as you answer that, Kimi, I also want to have viewpoints from Umutle and as well as Sibulelo.
Okay, so to answer Umagalela, hello Umagalela. To answer to answer Umagalela, I think for this particular thing, for this particular shoot, it was I met them once at lunch, and then I met them next when we were actually going to shoot. So I hadn't met them before or after that. I think for me, and I don't know, they'll tell me if this is the thing. But for me, I think that they believed in the vision. They understood where I was coming from and how passionate I was about this particular issue. And I think we all found common ground there, because all of us actually do have issues with this, and it's very personal to all of us. We're passionate people about this. So once we understood that we're on the same page, once they knew what what the vision is, I think basically they trusted the vision. They trusted the vision in my hands. Not that they had a choice, because it's not like they've done this before. So I could have messed up for all they knew, and they still would have gone with it. Because I think Manamatela, because I also said to them, what are you comfortable with? What are you not comfortable with? And respected that. So I'll give you an example. They also didn't know each other, and Mutle was not comfortable with the idea of having a kissing scene, kissing on the lips scene, because that's something that he considers as a person is a very intimate thing, and it does not feel like he could do it with, even for acting, with anybody besides, I suppose, besides his partner, right? He really is that guy, guys. He's a good guy. And so I adapted, and I promised them this, and I did that. I adapted the screen to find other ways of shooting them in intimate without Umutle having to kiss her on the lips, So there were small decisions like that where we asked them what their comfort levels were, how far they're willing to go. Before we shot the sex scenes, I think I sat with Sibs and asked her, are you comfortable with this? She was uncomfortable with one small thing, and we sorted that out. And then she was like, no, I'm good to go. And I think, and by the way, we shot the sex scene first with the two of them. and got all of that out of the way. It was cold, we had a heater, and I wanted her to sweat, so I was at the background, I kept spraying her, and she kept like, and she still had to perform all of that. And so it was really, there's nothing sexy about it. But I think by doing that, even on set, so I promised them something outside of a set. And the first thing that we did when we got on set was probably the most intimidating thing for them to do. And I believe we handled that with some level of grace and kindness, and we made it calm. And I think from there on, they knew that we really, if they had any doubts about trusting the process and us, I think it just, that's where they went with it. That's how we
Yeah, I agree. The conversation and the lunch we had, for me, like after you sit down with someone, and even if we don't become besties or know each other like to a great extent, I think you get a feel of the person, you get a feel of the energies that are going to be present when you're shooting this. And I think that was the biggest factor for me. Like in these energies, how do I respond? Because if I had met Kimi, because I had known Z before. But if I had met Kimi and I felt like her energy and my energy are not, it would have been hard to trust her. But because when I met her and spoke to her, there was a complementary thing there that existed. So I was okay with saying, okay, you know what, let's do things as per you see them. And
No,
then talking about trust, sorry, before I finish, another trust thing I want to touch on before Mutle goes on,
yes.
is the trust that had to exist between myself and the stranger, Umutle. And I think that was the hardest one to trust, because that, like, we are in close proximity a lot, and you are trusting that this person's actually not going to physically hurt you while we're doing these like uncomfortable scenes. So the greatest thing there was, before when we got there in the morning, there was waiting, and then before we shot the sex scene, Mutle sat me down. We sat in the room where it was being shot, and we sort of just spoke and breathed and meditated, as the yoga teacher instructed. And it was so helpful.
They're not lying. They're not lying. I can definitely contest to that, especially with the how Kimi got them to trust her, because if I know it was like a small little clip, but personally for me, even coming on set as being pregnant and being expected to be undressed and having this Mutle person right here in front of me, Kimi, you're amazing. Like, the way that you direct, and you really bring that comfortability in a person. And I didn't even, it didn't take that long for me to just get into it. I had the jippers, but through her direction it really worked out. So yeah, kudos to all of you guys, man.
I think Mutle also played, to be honest, he did play.
Yes,
There were some funny moments. He really was fantastic in that he did make everyone feel comfortable. I mean, literally, guys, when he was killing there at the end, when we saw one of the takes, background, I think in the sound, you will hear him actually asking her, are you okay? Are you okay? So he's busy being Manza and taking her down and killing her, but he's also being Mutle and holding her to see
very true.
So there were all these sensitivities.
Yeah, I remember.
They came from everybody. And I think as a team, we were able to build something that I believe was just, in a sense, if I may call it, divine for those 2 days. What we accomplished and who we were and how we were able to get that done, and to just have the right characters come together at the right time for something so important, for me just felt like it was written somewhere, because wow. Yeah.
It was also I think the great part about it is, as much as we were all strangers, and to Kimi's point, that we had one common goal and one vision, that no matter the reference points that we were coming from, as to how we understand gender-based violence, whether it was personal experiences or it was just something that we are passionate about, when we came into the room, because we had that, I think our characters, I don't know, everybody just synchronized, and we just moved for those 2 days. There were no fights. I mean, there were no squabbles here and there. There were squabbles here and there, but it was because also we are creative. There's specific ways in which we want to do things, and I think that was also going to happen. But even as those were happening, there was always going to be a base level where we come back and we understand this is what we're trying to move towards, and this is the end goal we're trying to reach. And everybody kept concentrating on that. And also to even to Sibulelo's point, and I really really enjoyed that she went from being a total stranger to being someone who was in my very very intimate space, and I was like, this is going to be quite difficult for me because I just met this person, and I'm also I'm very uncomfortable with someone just jumping from walking into the room and getting that close to it, seeing me half naked and all these things, But the fact that she was even opening up to say, okay, what are the best ways that we could actually, like simmer down and be able to be comfortable around one another. And she opened up to herself, and I said, okay, how about we sit and we just actually get comfortable about what it is we are uncomfortable about. Let's sit and we actually look at each other. And we were even complimenting each other's bodies, even to a stranger that I just met, So it was cool. But by the time we got to the lovemaking scene, like we were comfortable with our bodies around each other. There was no sort of like, I'm feeling comfortable, uncomfortable with that. So that was really, really cool that we could get into that space, still be artists, and also still be human about it, and also professional in how we were moving through that space. So that was cool. That was cool.
Absolutely. Guys,
Sorry,
again.
Charles, sorry to disturb you for a second. I am going to have load shedding at 9. I don't know how it's going to affect my network. And unfortunately, it's raining, so I can't even go to a different hood somewhere. So can I just answer the question about the aftertaste, the name?
Yes.
Yes, please.
So, okay. So, and this is a bit dark. It's a
And
bit
sorry,
sensitive,
Kimi,
guys. Yes, Pindi?
I think.
Okay.
All right,
I think she's
Kimi,
frozen.
as you are.
All right. So, as I said, we had a funny name and all that stuff. So during edit, we obviously kept to watch it like 200 times or whatever, while breaking it down, and because we also had to be very cognizant of what words we want with what image at which point, like we had to, when he says certain things, turn back the hands of time. It was that freedom in her when they were making love, and that when the fight actually starts, so we had to be I had to be very aware of the language. And I wasn't happy with the name that we had, and I wanted a name that that would work. Now, a friend of mine, some years back, after she had gotten raped, she called me and she said she was not trying to even talk about her rape, right? But because she's sitting there in her office, and this man that raped her is still in her because she can actually feel his semen exit her body. And that felt like secondary trauma to her at that moment. And so she made decisions based on that, because she's like, this just happened to me and I'm still experiencing this. So hearing the word, the aftertaste, to me kind of felt like that there is an aftertaste, and it's never a good one with gender-based violence, with rape, with any of these things, People are left with scars for a very long time. And so that's why I chose the name. And because it was also in the film, as I was listening, when the word, as Sib said, and the aftertaste, it was like, that's it right there. That will work. But also, I don't know if you noticed, Uzi, in the edit, how he did it. Initially, aftertaste as two separate words, even though it's like a word, right? And Z and I had a bit of a disagreement about that. And I'm like, I know what the word is, but the truth is I needed that pause between. I don't want it to be one word. I need the word itself. We used words here. Let's break the word up. Because this whole situation is just messed up, It's so we ended up doing the aftertaste. So I did it in two parts, but it came from that. That's why I said it came from a very, very deep, dark, painful situation. And on that note, so anyway, on that note, again, because of this, I must say that when I made this film, just because I was reading and all that stuff, and of course, as people would get affected, But it came to me, it really hit me after I'd made the film. It hit me last year because a friend of mine was brutally murdered by a lover. Her name was Nokwanda Potoka. And so now when I watch this film, there's something about it that is just, it's painful because now there's a person's face that I can attach to. This was her ending. And like her, she left a child behind, you know? And the aftertaste of these things, these men don't question what happens to the kid. That's an aftertaste for a kid. What happens to the child? Hopefully, but here's a child that's now left without a parent. Here's a child whose story is, my father killed my mother. You know, or my father raped my mother. How horrendous is that? But on that note, Charles, I was hoping that we could actually bring in Uritabile right now, and maybe she can have just give us a bit on her sister Unokwanda, who was a dear darling friend of mine. And she also started an NGO after her sister passed on, a GBV NGO. I must say, I'm really, really so proud of her because after her sister died brutally, she got up, bootstraps on, and she opened an NGO and she fought the law and she got justice for her sister. And she's used that pain and she's used that experience to try and help other people. And I think that must be commended. But please welcome her in.
Right on, guys. Right now, as I've said earlier on, we have our special guest. Joining us is Uritabile Melapi. Hi, Uritabile, how are you?
Hi, guys. I'm good,
Hi,
and you?
Uritabile.
I'm fantastic. It's such a pleasure to meet you. We're looking forward to hearing from your side, just the journey, taking us through the fight that you had to fight for your sister in terms of the GBV case that happened to her. Just take us through. All yours.
Hi everyone.
Hi, Uritabile.
Wow.
Welcome.
Hi.
Sorry to do
Thank
this
you
to
so
you,
much.
my darling, but I think it's important.
I know I'm so tired.
Yeah.
Ever since my sister's ordeal, I've never rested. It's not like one of those things that you say it because you want anyone's approval or anyone's sympathy. It's literally one thing that has affected me. It's like really an aftertaste. I have not rested ever since. I had to step up. I'm the younger sister of three sisters, and Nokwanda Shia by 14 years, and then our eldest sister in Shia with 22 years. So you can imagine. And Nokwanda was the glue to our family. And her death is something that left us crippled to an extent that I quit my job because I was not productive where I was supposed to be productive in terms of what I was paid to do. The only thing I was focused on is what was my sister saying, what was my sister crying out for, what was my sister killed for. I obsessed over that day in and day out until I decided, no, I have to do something. I have to change the narrative. I have to help other people, unlike the neighbors that didn't come out when she was screaming, crying for her life, asking for people to help her. When the main witness, Tandy, was going around house to house asking for airtime to call police and people didn't come out. And she died because humanity in South Africa is normal. This thing of ours, andizoyingena, or it's not about me, or into yabantu ababini, ayingenwa, or whatever narrative we have of trying to be ignorant on something that's happening right underneath our noses is not on. I blame the perpetrator mostly because he's the one who did this, but I don't blame the community to some extent. I feel like in these situations, society is so quick to judge and say a victim could have done this, a victim should have done that. Nokwanda was murdered in a 4-month relationship. You can't know someone in 4 months. You can't say there were signs in 4 months. And how the media sensationalized the story, writing tabloid headlines that had nothing to do with actually why she was murdered was the most difficult part for me and my family, because we couldn't say, but this is not what happened. It's because of this, because the case was ongoing. In South Africa, the victims and the families are not allowed to be themselves. We're not allowed to be enraged and feel anger and strike or react or go crazy because you, as the victim or the survivor or the family left behind, are governed by rules that protect the same perpetrators that kill our women and children. It's a tough world in South Africa whereby the law protects a certain angle of people. And once even they arrested, they still have so many rights that would make you go into a stroke if you're in that and you're experiencing that and you're in court every day and that person is sitting right in front of you. It's not like there's a barricade that separates you guys or prison bars or whatever, or bulletproof window. And our courts are not even that protected, that you may not come in with a weapon now to get revenge. There's so many times that I slipped in and out of a questionnaire with my own self that, are you able to handle the consequence of what you're thinking? And at the time, what I was thinking is that Naye, he has to die. It's so painful that we, as the people that are dealing with the aftertaste of what happened, we have to be now governed by rules that the perpetrator wasn't governed by. No matter how much the evidence points to a perpetrator, you still have to wait up to a year and even longer to get someone be brought to justice. That's insane. When the evidence all the witnesses point, and himself with his own statements point, that he killed this person in cold blood, still, you as the family, this person is murdered, she's no more, have to wait for that justice system that we want to be in our favor to first favor that perpetrator before you get any sense of justice. He was sentenced to a measly 1 life sentence. That's not enough.
But can you please explain the achievements that the life sentence is actually go to 10 hotel America, not less South Africa, so it's not 25,
Yes,
it's
no.
actually life. Yes.
The difference why I'm not satisfied is because this guy, it wasn't his first soiree or his first incident or his first abuse or his first GBV case. It was one of those things that this person had multiple people coming up saying he did this to me, but when we got to the police station and the courts, those records were no longer there. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
He couldn't get more than 1 life sentence because the court recognized him as a first offender. He was not a first-time offender.
Yeah, the
That's the
system
saddest part.
continues. The system continues to fail us. I mean, we get a whole lot of situations like this where dockets go missing, things are swept under the rug. And I'll say this: in cases, they may have not been directly close to me, But in some cases, when you hear about them, you often think to yourself, Oguti, um, is it not too late to bring back a mob justice? Perhaps. Maybe that will straighten everything. And at the same time, then you get told, Uti, you can't fix all wrong when you're wrong. It's really sad to just have some people get away with stuff that they managing to get away with and not having to pay for anything. Um, it's really a lot. Um, I want to invite, I don't know if she is ready. We have AMA measures that other people are putting in place, like AMA NGO. I understand you have the NGO. Did you start the NGO, Ritavi?
Yes, I started one after my sister's ordeal. It's still working. It's doing the most. I even quit my own job. I was working at the Department of Education,
Yeah.
doing quite well for myself, but it just wasn't resonating with me anymore to focus on other people instead of focusing on what was tormenting my soul. There's so many things that these cases or these incidents do to the people left behind. I don't want to lie. I could have been behind bars today with my sister, with my parents, because the assailant, after this, my parents locked themselves in the house that he came back to take my sister's things in my sister's house and run away. But unfortunately, the witness, they walked with my sister's daughter and his son to my house, a distance about 2 kilometers, to go to my parents to tell them what had happened in my sister's house when he took her away and disappeared with her for 4 hours, where he was murdering her. And that's the case. He disappeared with her for 4 full straight hours, washed her body, took her back to the hospital, thinking in his mind he's in a Hollywood movie, that he will be exempted as a caring boyfriend that brought someone who fell out of a window in his statement and had shortness of breath and died. But her injuries were not of someone who fell. Her
Of course.
trachea was dislocated, this part. She no longer had a neck. So you can never even comprehend someone who would do that. She dragged her with her own car. Her skull and uchopo she no longer had. It's just one of those things that you look at how crazy and to cover up what they've done. That guy was sentenced and found guilty, even though he was saying he's not guilty. My sister fell and jumped out of a window that is like 2 meters high and died when she had
Now,
blue eyes and all of that.
now I want. So there's some people that don't understand what one life is. A one life sentence. How many years does that translate to? Um,
Okay, for now, in our past judicial system, a life sentence was 25 years. But after the scourge of GBV, and the president came to state that anybody who does this and is proven guilty of this is now sentenced to life, which is life,
life.
not
It's life,
years
not 25
counting.
years. Yeah.
Yes, it's life. He will be in prison until he dies, and he can't even now appeal or get parole
Parole, yes.
unless he has a life really threatening condition that will make him be exempted. And even so, they will have to contact one of us to be able to approve that. So it's now difficult a bit for someone who's done this and sentenced, but at the same time, it does not take away from the fact that any perpetrator is still in prison within warm walls, not in rain or wind or cold, with 3 meals a day, with other people around them. It's not like they're isolated and treated like the scum that they should be. They still have a life, unlike the person who's dead. So that is why I said in the beginning that life sentence for me meant nothing when our prison system is not accommodating that kind of sentence. Because people who have a life sentence should be isolated, alone, because they chose to do that. So
Yeah.
our prison system and our judicial system should really try and focus on building prisons that accommodate the sentencing that they say they give. Not tell us that after 10 years or 15 years that this guy is now a pastor and he's trying to be a better person or whatever, and we must now accept that bullshit. Sorry for the language.
Oh no, oh no! You can go as hard as possible. Look, this really speaks to the short film that we had. I'm not sure if you've seen it. It's a short film.
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Again, amazing work in portraying that Sibulelo and Mutle as well. And it speaks to what I want to dive into. We see the last scene where um, Umtana is looking at the mother, and the mother is just laying there dead. And now we wonder, the same situation as yours, Oguti. In such a situation, ubaba womntana now we have to take action against ubaba womntana. But who's there now left looking after lo mntana? The measures, the actions zika and the boyfriend yaga siswako have led to that child not being orphaned, because ultimately the mother is no longer there. The father is behind bars for life. A worst case scenario, mob justice came and did what they had to do, and now irresponsibility falls upon you guys for immense, hence that's why I will strongly agree with you. It's utter bull to have people that do such things be held in prisons where they have shelter, they have food. As a matter of fact, man, we should actually get to a point where we have prisons where people actually starve to death for such actions, because literally in hindsight, had it been Uguti Usiswako is the only child and she's an orphan herself, Maya Falomuntu and the neighbors and friends decide Uguti they're gonna take action against that person. Umntana uzokhula engenamndeni. The only family that they would know is families and friends of Umar. It really
Yes.
is a sad thing to really unpack and really grasp Uguti. And I think this is something that we as James Mutle, we as James really need to find a way of pushing forward. We have NGOs, we have AMA activists against HEPV, but the bigger thing is we are pointing out what is wrong. I always say this, and forgive me, I will just jump a bit on being a devil's advocate. I had said this earlier, but I also want to jump and really tap on this. Some of us become who we are because of the upbringing yet. We learn and we engraved with certain behavior because of a upbringing. And I'm not justifying anything that this gen did or anyone else, but it is such a huge task that we need to do as other gens to really get people to unlearn the ways of doing things. Singahlala manje in a group and a gent will say, "No, I slept Umbali," and because Umbali was talking nonsense, and we kiki about it as though that is literally something that is supposed to happen. It's not even supposed to happen because that's where it starts. That's where it starts. It starts with the little things, and I'm adored. I Sabelan. To everyone that is watching right now, I mean, uh, what what does it need to take for everyone to just finally wake up and realize, Ogoti, this could be your sister. This could very well be your daughter. And speaking on that, this also comes to the whole patriarchal norm that we have as James Ogoti. This is what happened on the short film itself, where we saw Umandla expecting a son as a firstborn. And this is what we all men want. There's hidden reasons between all different men. Some men really want a son for indlalifa, and some really want a son because we are really running away from situations that are beyond our. Mm, let me fix my statement. It's not beyond
No,
our control, but right now, currently, it's such a heavy task. You can stand out and say, Uguti, la la la, this is wrong. As I'm saying right now on this live, and this live is going to be here for quite some time. There's a song that's released saying, "Yemadoda Sabelani," but still we're having GBV cases that are still spiraling out of control. And again, I will urge to my viewers and everyone that is participating in this, guys, really, what are we doing? Because we're really taking it from a small point where umuntu answers and speaks to a lady the way that they shouldn't be speaking to her.
Do you
Um,
know what? Sorry to interrupt you, Charles, but I think language is one of the biggest roles in how we see each other and how we interact with each other. And I think when you were asking Kimi why poetry, I thought about that. In terms of why do we speak in a specific way in different contexts. But I think for me it goes deeper than the first time someone slaps you, you know what I mean? Like it begins from the just the words and how they approach you, the words they use, the way words used to describe women, the words associated with women, you know, and the connotations behind them. So for me, the conversation is bigger than like the slap. It is perception. If you don't respect someone, it becomes easy to slap them. If you don't respect someone and firstly see them as a person, you know, um, a lot of the time men will view women as an extension of them or a tool to a means to an end for whatever desires he has, you know. People get married not because they want to be with the person and know the person, but because they want that role fulfilled. So I think that is the problem, because you are not perceiving a person, you're not respecting the personhood and the humanity that exists here. So it's very easy for me, if I don't see you as a person, to treat you as anything but.
I want to add on to that, when we speak about language. And again, like I said, I really, we have a whole panel that is advocating against GBV, including me. Um, but I also want to touch on this, a very bitter pill to swallow. When you speak on language, I always call out my female relatives when they get excited, and I mean, uh, women go as far as calling themselves and saying, "Ah, naki bad, 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 bad," and you're stripping away all of that. You're stripping away um, your respect all on your own, apart from everything that men are doing. No, listen, I'm not saying Uguti, it's I don't mean to trigger anyone, guys. Please, trigger warning. It's about to get real. It's about to get really,
It's
really,
already real. It's
yeah.
already real.
It's about to get. But what I'm saying here is already the pressure is on six, and now it gets taken to nine. And I get it, Uguti. Um, Part of it is basically just owning yourself, and saying, Uguti, listen, I'm that girl, I'm that person. It's not how we understand it as guys, but you understand it more of some sort of empowerment when you say you are bad, right?
No,
Um,
but you know what? I'm sorry, Charles. I'm going to interrupt you because we can't be talking about language of 2020 as if it's the biggest issue, whereas this issue is an issue that has existed way before a girl calling herself bad bitch existed. Like you can go back as far as the fucking Bible, and there is problematic things there, like, and I that's why I was pointing out earlier the submissiveness in Tembi, um that is an issue, because as soon as you see someone, like, you are taking away the biggest element of your power in just submitting to someone. But that's not something that women decided, oh, bow down to the king. It existed as an indoctrination pushed on women as to how we should act, what we should dress. That's why you had feminists long time ago fighting for rights, working rights. This is not an isolated issue of 2020. There is so much history that leads up to everything that happens now. So I think for me it's very shallow to say, but you women call yourself bad bitches. And then, like, it's not like that's today. And whether you agree with it or not, your perception of a woman calling themselves a bad bitch is because of the history. If you are looking at it in isolation, that's not the worst thing in the world. But because you are looking at it from the vantage point of a man, that becomes something that is triggering for men. Uguti, why are you calling yourself a bad bitch? Because kahle kahle, you guys low key, maybe high key, belong to us. And I think, like, for me tonight, Uri Tabile reminded me, not that I didn't know, but like, these are people who are dying. These are women, people's family members, people's loved ones, mothers, sisters, themselves. They have their own personhood, and that is taken away from them. It's not a idea that is killed, it's a person. Sorry, it makes me
You know
angry.
what? I agree with you, Sibulelo. You know, when I agree with you both to an extent, when you experience this, I don't want to lie, it becomes like a story that you're being told by someone else in another family, and this happened to them. You wake up the next day literally hoping and praying it was not true. Even today, even though I know where my sister's buried, I saw her. I put makeup on her face for her funeral. I still can't wrap my head around it. It's as if when I speak about it, when I even wear this T-shirt with her face, it's as if it's something she started instead of something I did. It's as if she'll come and say, no, this is wrong. You're supposed to, how she's always been. You can never, ever, ever accept this. It's something you can try to tolerate, but to a certain extent, I'll make you an example. I'm a sane person, to retrospect of how people are sane, you and me, everybody else. But when I saw someone hit another person, another woman, in the street, I didn't know these people. I was driving. I didn't know what was happening. Excuse me. And I stopped the car in the middle of the road. There were cars behind me. I didn't give two shits. I didn't switch off the ignition. I got out. This is a man. I do not have the strength of a man in a reality type of thing. I'm a size 34, 36. That guy was about 40. Like the comparison of how much he would have beaten me up on a normal setting. But because of the trauma that I had and what my family experienced with my sister's death, and me not knowing how much it affected me mentally, I went to a stranger and did the utmost worst. And in it, you are not yourself. But after you realize how fucked up you are because of an action of GBV, it's not something you plan to do or how you plan to react. It's not something you can control. I can't explain it. And then it made me think to why did this guy do this? He only knew my sister for 4 months. Then I started digging into his past. I started to dig into who he was. And I realized that this person was fighting with rejection. He was never acknowledged by his own father. Up until he became a man, as in Ukoluka in Xhosa people going to initiation. And his father died without acknowledging him. And he wasn't even acknowledged in his father's obituary. So that rejection made him go crazy when someone says, I don't want you in my life. And when I compared it to the women that came up front, they too experienced that side of him when they no longer wanted to be in that relationship. So it goes back to what you had said, Charles, that rejection, past traumas. I'm not saying they exempt someone, and I'm not speaking from a place of forgiveness. I'm speaking from a place of trying to understand because I never got the closure from the person. He never said, I did this and I'm sorry, and this is what we were arguing about, and this is what happened, so that we understood Ushwe Pingumsindo and tried to understand. Not that you can understand, even if you're given the reasons, but it's better than
It's not gonna
being in
make
the dark.
sense.
Yeah, you try to make sense of the, because my sister was the most sweetest. Ukimi knew her personally. She was an utmost angel, an utmost, like she was one of those people. If you stepped on her, she would say sorry. You stepped on me. She would say sorry first. She was that type of person. So she was never the person to fight with someone who's fighting with her. So when someone kills her, even for 4 hours, like, really? That's what destroyed us. So, in these circumstances, guys, I don't know if people go temporarily insane or what happens to them, or they get inhibited by the devil spirit or whatever. But I don't think anyone is normal when they take a life of someone they had once said they love. I don't think anyone is normal at that stage. Whatever's driving them or whatever their intent is, there's no way you can be a normal human being and do that. And the saddest thing is that we are left picking up the pieces. His son is left angry and a bully at school. And I'm helping him, his son, helping his son with that. His son is not at fault. My sister's daughter is not at fault. And it's not that you wouldn't want to, like other people would have said, fuck him, fuck his son. But I can't do that because I'm not that character. And my sister's not that character. She wouldn't have
Besides,
wanted me to be like
besides
that.
that, you'd be creating another monster in its own
Exactly.
right by ignoring that. Yeah,
Exactly.
this is
So
exactly what.
you
Mm,
yeah, that's why I'm saying I'm agreeing with both of you. It's one of those things that we have to be careful as society how much we burn the assailant in
mm,
retrospect of the fact that justice systems sometimes don't burn them enough, but where is it coming from? What are we
yeah,
doing about it to prevent? Prevention is better than cure. It's
Yeah.
always been said.
Yeah.
So, what are we doing as a community to prevent? That is why, even now, I decided to do an NPO. I want to prevent this. I don't want another family to go through what my family went through, is what my family is going through every day. We miss her every day. We cry every day. We wake up every morning, sometimes feeling anxiety or whatever. And we are not okay. Imagine reacting to a man that you don't know beating up another woman. What if he had a gun, a knife, or whatever? He could have also injured me. But reacting like that means I'm also damaged to a certain
Mm.
extent. I need
true.
counseling. I need a lot of things to be able to cope with men doing something to someone else. I also don't have the right to attack another human being, no matter what. It's just one of those things that those traumas is things that we forget as humans, that mental illness and mental health is a key integral part in GBV, because nobody commits this kind of things unless they're mentally not okay somewhere. I'm not saying they're crazy, but there's something wrong with them somewhere that they haven't dealt with or
Mm.
fixed.
Yeah, no. It's heavy, Ritabila. I'm sorry.
I understand.
Um, yeah. Look,
Thank
guys,
you for that,
like
Bibo.
like I'm saying, and I'm glad we're on the same train of thought, Ritabil. Um, we there's situations that we cannot control. A full-grown man acting the way that they act. Um, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but the best thing that we can do is teach those that are coming to
Yeah.
do better and act better. I think
Yeah.
another thing that we should look into is actually now taking away uh, taking away children from unfit fathers. I mean, if someone is
Or
literally,
mothers.
yes, that too. Um, if someone is acting a certain way towards or teaching a certain thing towards a child, then it's uncalled for. It really is uncalled for. With this being said, guys, for the sake of time, I'm gonna cap it here, and then let's maybe have a next session next time for those of you that are gonna be available. So please do take care, and we'll reconvene next time. Thank you to
All
everyone for
right.
tuning in. We'll see you guys in the next episode of the second part of the short film by Kimi. Cheers.